Hello, Charlie here from GuitarMasteryMethod.com, and right now I'm going to show you how to improve your string bending. Okay, now there are a few crucial things that you need to make sure that you are doing to, one, make sure that the notes sound good, and two, to make sure you're actually hitting the right notes. So let's get into it. Number one is you want to make sure you have correct finger position. So what is correct finger position? Well, let's say we're wanting to bend this note here, okay, the 5th fret on the G. Now, we want to be going like this. Okay, so notice how I'm putting my 3rd finger here, but I'm also putting the 1st and the 2nd fingers there to help it out, okay? Because if I just put just that one finger there and I try and do it, number one, it's possible the string's going to slip out, and number two, it's actually quite hard to bend it to the correct note that we want to be doing. Now sometimes you are going to be doing little back bends like that. Okay, so you're not necessarily going to be using all 3 fingers. So for those back bends, we do slightly different technique where we put the finger kind of on the side, and we use the fact that we can't push the finger that way to our advantage. So you've got this little L, you're putting it here, putting it on the side, digging in, and then just doing a little twist to get that string to bend down. Alright? So one thing that you want to make sure that you're not doing is just grabbing the string like you would normally grab it, okay? Because sometimes when you want to do a really good bend, you kind of want to get under the string a little bit more just to support it as you're going up. Now, not drastically different, but you do want to make sure you get that tiny little bit of extra meat underneath that string, especially when you're first starting and your string bending technique might not be that good. So what we want to be doing as well, to make sure that we're not getting any other strings making noise or any other kind of random notes, is that when we bend up, we want the strings above that string to be sitting on top of our fingers. Okay, so a lot of people, when they start bending, they'll bend like this, and then these strings start going underneath those fingers as well. The issue is when you come back down, they're going to pop out and make a noise. So what we want to be doing is just getting them sitting on top of those strings. Okay, so you want to really practice that, because obviously if you're going up like this and you're getting those strings there, your solos aren't going to sound very good. The next thing that's very important is how far do you bend the note, okay? Because you need to make sure you're bending it to the right note. Now generally, for a normal string bend, you want to be doing 2 notes, okay? So, which is called a whole note in music, okay? So 1 fret move up is called a semitone, and 2 notes up is called a whole tone. So if we're bending this 5th fret on the G string, we want it to sound like the 9th fret, okay? So, see how that sounds the same? So it's a really good way to test your bends. Now, depending on what key you're in, you'll need to learn your scales and that kind of thing to make sure you're doing it exactly right. But if you're just learning songs, then you know, if it says half a bend or a full bend, if it doesn't mention it, generally it's going to be a full bend. But if it says half a bend, that means you want to bend it just 1 fret, okay? So if it was a half a bend, then we want to be making it sound like this on the 8th fret. Okay. Now sometimes you get 1.5 bends every now and then, like David Gilmour's solos of Pink Floyd, he seems to like doing them. So obviously you'll be bending up not 1 fret, not 2 frets, but 3. So you want to make it sound like this note up here. Now you notice what I'm doing is I'm bending the note then going to check if it's right. Okay, now this is actually the exercise that I was going to be giving you to test your bends, just to make sure that they do sound good. Okay, so another way that you can practice this is with what's called unison bends. So they sound like this. Now what a unison bend is when you're going to be playing your first finger here on the 5th fret, and you know, we're bending that same note, but we're going to be playing both the strings at the same time and then bending up, and you'll notice how we get what's called dissonance, which is that whoa, 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 whoa kind of sound. And as we get closer to matching the note, it disappears until it's perfectly in tune. Alright, a different shape on the lower string. So if you're going to do it here on the B string and the E string, you need to add an extra fret to do it. Alright, now the reason why that works is just the same way that you tune the guitar, you know, going on the 5th fret to the 4th fret. This note here on the B string is the same as this 9 up here on the G. So when we're bending the 7th fret and we want it to sound like this, that's exactly the same note, so we can just use that. A lot of blues guys. Obviously rock bands, given that that was the start of Highway to Hell solo by AC/DC. They all use those unison bends because they sound really, really cool, especially with a bit of distortion. So that will hopefully help you out a little bit with your string bending. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, I highly recommend that you go and check out my website, guitarmasteringmethod.com. I've actually got a link in the description box to a free lesson series that I've released that will really explode your guitar playing abilities, show you how to play all over the fretboard in any key, write your own guitar solos, and it's the perfect thing to be applying these guitar bending techniques to. So click the link just below in the description box, and I'll see you over my website very soon.